In a recent Washington Post poll, Governor Hogan enjoyed about a 70% approval rating. I think all of you agree that Governor Hogan has to go, but specifically, what would be your strategy if you're the Democratic nominee to defeat Governor Hogan in November?
Ms. Irvin, you get this question first.
Governor Hogan is a brilliant politician. He does very little except put his finger in the air and wait to see which direction the polls tell him are the popular issues that he should be standing for. I think any of us that become the nominee in the Democratic Party against Hogan have to just lay out the vision for what a Hogan administration, Hogan 2.0, would look like, much like what happened in New Jersey when Chris Christie became his true self in his second term.
Thanks, Ms. Irvin.
Thank you.
Senator Madaleno.
That same Washington Post poll said that I had the best chance of beating Larry Hogan in the fall. I'm going to do it by actually getting more votes than Larry Hogan. You do that by actually getting Democrats to come out to vote. We have a 2-to-1 advantage in our state. When you stand up and talk about the minimum wage, fighting price gouging by drug companies, standing up for better schools around our state, you will get Democrats out to vote. And that's what I have been doing as a legislator, fighting for that agenda, and that's what I will do as governor.
Mr. Jones, on defeating Larry Hogan.
Well, you're going to need someone who's strong and who's not afraid of Larry Hogan. It sounds like people are afraid of Larry Hogan, but he's only a man, and he came in like, I guess I am. He wasn't a politician, his family was. So, he learned how to be a politician. But we're going to need somebody strong and somebody who's going to be focused on what Larry Hogan hasn't done and what the people of Maryland need.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Vignarajah.
When Governor Hogan won in 2014, he did by 65,000 votes because nearly 300,000 likely Democrats didn't show up. The majority of them were women, minorities, immigrants, and younger voters. So part of what I'll be emphasizing, as I have been on the election trail, is Governor Hogan's election year epiphanies. We know he's a crafty politician. He fakes left, he moves right. And so for me, it's been focusing on transportation. The fact that he did nothing for 3 years except for name the ICC after the only other one-term Republican governor, and then he rolls out a $9 billion package. He doesn't talk about crime for 3 years in Baltimore, literally forgets Baltimore on a map.
Mr. Jaffe.
This might shock you, but how about politicians who tell the truth? Wouldn't that be nice to have politicians who don't make phony promises? To tell the truth. Mr. Hogan is not the real problem. I'm no fan of his. We don't have any ethical politicians, and both parties, in my book, are morally bankrupt.
Thank you, Mr. Jaffe. Mr. Baker.
Thank you. I think everyone's described Larry Hogan right. He's a great politician, but he's sorry as a governor. What I'm going to do to beat Larry Hogan is really talk to those families who don't have a job because our economy in Maryland has dropped down. Talk to the families whose children are sitting in crowded classrooms because of Larry Hogan's record. Talk to people stuck in traffic in the Baltimore region and in the Washington region about Larry Hogan's record. Talk to our environmentalists about Larry Hogan's record. That's how we defeat him. Talk about his record.
Mr. Shea.
I'm confident that I can beat Larry Hogan. I'll start with matching my business record against his, but I'll take him on the issues as well. As I go around the state, what I hear is, I approve of Larry Hogan because he hasn't done that much harm. That's way too low a bar. Not that bad is not good enough.
Thank you, Mr. Shea. Now back to the front of the line, Mr. Ross.
Democrats have been losing a lot of elections lately, including Anthony Brown in 2014 and Hillary Clinton in 2016, because we've been slicing and dicing up the electorate into these little demographics that we micro-target. And what we really need to do, what we need to go back to is talking to all of Marylanders. So whether you're in Dundalk or Hagerstown or Frederick, all 24 jurisdictions in the state of Maryland, the Alec Ross, Julie Verratti ticket, we aren't going to just look for these little micro-targeted groups that are most likely to support us. We're going to be engaging everybody and not taking any votes for granted.
Mr. Jealous.
There's only one way to beat Larry Hogan, to turn out more voters than he does. Right now, less than 50% of the people in the state say that they'll vote for him again. We've got a good shot, but it means we have to turn out voters, and that's what Susie Turnbull, my running mate, and I do. When Susie was chair of the party, she turned out 125,000 more voters in Maryland in 2010 than would turn out in 2014. 125,000 more Dems would turn out in 2014. When I was president of the NAACP,
Mr. Jealous, that's the end.
I turned out 1.2 million unlikely voters. We turn out the unlikely voters.
Do we have any rebuttals on this question? Mr. Jaffe, this is your third rebuttal.
So I think it's important. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have any ethical politicians in this state who tell the truth all the time. You have to inspire people to want to come out and vote. I can do that. I have a track record. Check my website. I've kept my word. I haven't taken the bribe money. I'll serve one term, so I'm saying I'm going to be a good public servant, not a person who wants power and money and fame.